This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for September 3rd. I'm Mark Martin. Hurricane Dorian has been downgraded to a Category 3 hurricane, and its top winds are now at 120 miles an hour compared to 180 on Sunday. But people are still fighting for their lives in the Bahamas as the storm stalls out there. 13,000 homes are destroyed, according to authorities, and they're not able to rescue people. Instead, they're urging them to seek high ground.
They're getting a lot of distress calls for persons needing rescue, needing to be rescued, but we cannot get to them right now.
The storm track shows it could go dangerously close to the Florida coast as early as tonight and then move up the Georgia and South Carolina coast. Authorities in those two states have already begun evacuations. And we go now to CBN's Eric Phillips from Daytona Beach, where some are still watching the storm literally and others are preparing to evacuate.
Here in Daytona Beach, Florida, folks have been told to stay out of the water because of the pending danger. But as you can see, some folks have not been able to heed that warning. It's just too tempting for them. Hopefully they will soon, though, because the worst is yet to come. It's the kind of surf that makes some want to grab their boards and head for the waves. But the double red flags flying high signal no one is supposed to be in the water. Not only are lifeguards leaving, but officials warn the tide is already drawing dangerous debris close to shore, just beneath the surface. The water signaling a new development as the hurricane draws near. Another new order, mandatory evacuations for some residents in the county. The local transit system is helping some to get to the shelters on the other side of the county for free.
That is great for somebody that don't have transportation is what happened. I had to work yesterday, so my people rode out.
Buses are taking residents to shelters like this one at the Volusia County Fairgrounds. It's a pet-friendly shelter, which means these two sisters could keep Bonnie and Bandit by their side as they ride out the storm.
It's very important. I mean, these are like our kids, you know, because look at all these other hurricanes when these dogs get lost.
Janice Howarth says it makes all the difference, especially in this stressful situation.
She's my comfort dog. She's a big comfort to me. If I get kind of antsy or something, she'll curl up in my lap and I can snuggle with her.
As the storm approaches, there are sure to be some antsy moments, but many people are boarding up businesses and homes and filling sandbags to protect their property as best they can. And in some parts of the county, there will be a curfew from 6 o'clock tonight until 6 a.m. Wednesday morning.
And people that's not heeding this warning, they need to, because this is one of the biggest that we have had.
Here in Volusia County, officials say they're expecting tropical storm force winds to pick up around noontime today and last for 24 to 48 hours. In Daytona Beach, Eric Phillips, CBN News.
As we've reported, Floridians have been watching Hurricane Dorian closely for the last few days, and the tensions are high as they wonder, wait, and prepare. Chuck Holton has more from West Palm Beach, Florida, where he also discovered how first responders are being helped in the midst of long hours of serving.
The men and women here at the Palm Beach Gardens Fire Department have had several days to prepare for this storm, and they feel like they've got everything set. They're all ready, but now it's just a waiting game as this storm moves so slowly that nobody knows where or if it's going to make any landfall.
But while these first responders prepare to help everyone else, sometimes their own families get neglected. That's why these members of Christ Fellowship Church in West Palm Beach are pulling together to help the helpers.
So we've brought in a lot of supplies that we're ready to respond quickly after the storm. We have truckloads of water, Gatorade, baby diapers, formula, other resources that people will need the minute the storm is over. And then after that, we have chainsaws, generators ready to help get people back to normal.
And this ministry brings something even more important to those in need.
We bring a hope that other people cannot bring. So there are cities that are prepared. There are fire stations that are filled. Everybody is helping. There's lots of organizations that are helping. But what I know is that I bring the hope of Jesus and that our church brings the hope of Jesus, and other organizations can't do that.
This is Juneau Beach, and it's under a mandatory evacuation order right now. That means people who choose to stay here are going to be on their own once the winds get to be above about 40 or 50 miles an hour, because first responders can no longer be on the roads at that point. And so anybody that wants to stay here, they're going to be on their own for a long time.
From West Palm Beach, Florida, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
In other news, 9 people are still missing after a tragic boat fire Monday that killed at least 25 others near an island off the South California coast.
I can't breathe. Roger, are they locked inside the boat? Roger, can you get back on board and unlock the boat, unlock the doors so they can get off?
Once again, that was off the Southern California coast. The call for help came around 3 o'clock in the morning. The dive boat was anchored near the shore and just erupted into flames. 5 crew members escaped by jumping into the water, but most of the passengers were asleep and trapped inside the burning boat. Rescuers hope that maybe those still missing possibly made it out of the boat to a nearby island. Investigators say they still don't know the cause of the fire. A neighbor of the gunman who killed 7 people in West Texas says her family was afraid of him. Rocio Gutierrez told reporters that Seth Ader would go out at night shooting at animals, and they feared he might start shooting at them. She says although it sounds bad, they feel relieved that he is gone. An FBI agent says Ader's residence was strange and reflected what his mental state was going into this. Ader was killed by police outside an Odessa movie theater on Saturday after opening fire on state troopers during a traffic stop and then fleeing, shooting at random passersby and vehicles. The health of a little boy and his parents' rights are at stake in an unbelievable case in Texas that could go all the way to the state Supreme Court. Drake Pardo is a 4-year-old with several health issues who was taken without warning or explanation from his family and home. The family recorded what happened on a smartphone. It all started after Drake came home from the hospital following a procedure. The doctor who performed it turned his records over to the Child Abuse Office of Children's Medical Center in Dallas. LifeSiteNews.com reports at issue is whether the child who had suffered from serious eating problems needed a feeding tube to help him get enough nutrition. The physician disagreed with the parents' desire to get a second opinion on which feeding tube would be better for Drake. The doctor admits she only wanted CPS to arrange a meeting with Daniel and Ashley Pardo, and CPS admitted in court that proper procedures in the case were not followed, yet Drake has not been returned to his family. Various groups and lawmakers have filed measures with the courts in support of the Pardos. Drake has now been away from his family for more than 2 months. You can find the full story at CBNNews.com. Turning now to the 2020 presidential campaign already well underway, some lawmakers are sounding the alarm that our election security still faces serious threats. One is Senator Mark Warner. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson spoke with him about why he's concerned.
Senator Mark Warner is concerned we haven't learned from 2016 when Russia effectively interfered in our election, and he worries about the integrity of our system going into 2020.
The Russians don't favor one party over another. They want to sow chaos, and I think they'll use some new tools in 2020.
We've already seen some of the tech most concerning to Warner. It's known as deep fake technology.
You can computer generate a voice, or you can put the image of your face on another body.
Warner believes each campaign should be extra cautious going into 2020.
I have my personal phone, iPad, screened on a regular basis.
And he says while we've taken some steps to address the problem, it's not enough.
I think we know that Russia didn't really throw all their resources at 2018. They're going to reserve that for the presidential election.
Warner's working to legislatively tackle the issue 3 ways. First,
there ought to be an obligation that if a foreign government tries to intervene in a presidential election, whoever they try to intervene on behalf of, there ought to be an obligation not to say thank you, but tell the FBI.
Second, Warner believes each voting machine should have a paper ballot backup in case interference is detected.
They do it on both ends of the political spectrum, advocate for the most extreme positions on the left and the right.
And third, He's calling for basic rules, forcing Facebook, Twitter, and Google to crack down on fake bots.
Unless we can put some of this in the law to make sure on a going forward basis that we'll take these minimum protections, I'm not sure I can look Americans straight in the eye and say that we'll be fully secure in 2020.
Warner believes this should not be a partisan issue.
I'm not here to try to relitigate 2016.
But he has concerns about the White House's support.
I do worry that, at times the White House has been very reluctant to kind of acknowledge this is a problem. I do get concerned when President Trump interacts with President Putin of Russia and seems to kind of laugh off this issue.
Warner's bills to address election security are picking up bipartisan co-sponsors and support, and he believes they will be broadly supported if they make it to the Senate floor. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Vice President Mike Pence says the Bible stays in a recent speech to an American Legion convention. Pence was referring to a Bible on display at the Veterans Administration Medical Center in New Hampshire and a lawsuit over it. Pence tweeted about it and posted his speech, saying in the tweet, VA hospitals won't be religion-free zones, receiving more than 59,000 likes by followers.
And as we meet the healthcare needs of our veterans, let me make you another promise. This administration will always make room for the spiritual needs of our heroes at the VA as well. You might have heard even today that there's a lawsuit to remove a Bible that was carried in World War II from a missing man table at a VA hospital in New Hampshire. There's a lawsuit underway. It's really no surprise because under the last administration, VA hospitals were removing Bibles and even banning Christmas carols in an effort to be politically correct. But let me be clear. Under this administration, VA hospitals will not be religion-free zones. We will always respect the freedom of religion of every veteran of every faith. And my message to the New Hampshire VA hospital is the Bible stays.
Pence received a standing ovation. Coming up, the key to preventing and even fighting some of the most deadly diseases that could be found in your kitchen spice rack.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Welcome back. A simple spice could be the answer to preventing and fighting diseases like cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and more. It works because it's a powerful anti-inflammatory. As CBN's Lori Johnson reports, the spice and its supplement forms are flying off the shelves.
It's only been 20 years or so since doctors identified inflammation as the root cause of virtually all of our most gripping health problems: heart disease, Alzheimer's, arthritis, and more. This silent killer destroys our insides by keeping them in a constant state of stress.
And inflammation is important because I think of it kind of as this frat party that never stops in the body.
Women's health expert Dr. Sarah Gottfried is among a growing number of physicians who tell their patients to do what they can to reduce inflammation. Topping the list, consume curcumin, the active ingredient in turmeric.
The cool thing about curcumin is that it is the most potent anti-inflammatory that we have on the planet.
People in India who typically eat curcumin at every meal tend to have very low rates of cancer, Alzheimer's, and other inflammatory diseases.
Raw turmeric root can be found in the produce department of the grocery store, ground dried turmeric in the spice aisle, and in the vitamins section you can find turmeric or curcumin supplements.
Research shows it's especially good for the brain. For instance, a 2018 study published in the Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry shows seniors who took curcumin enjoyed significant improvements in their memory, attention span, and mood. Curcumin can also reduce pain and can be used in place of pharmaceuticals like opioids and NSAIDs, which can carry serious side effects. Dr. Gottfried says curcumin is particularly helpful to her patients battling painful uterine fibroids.
So the way that I dose it is that I generally recommend 200 to 250 milligrams at a time. You can take that up to 6 times a day.
1 teaspoon of ground turmeric contains about 200 milligrams of curcumin. Curcumin also possesses antioxidant properties. Recent studies reveal it slows the growth of a number of cancers, such as prostate, colon, and breast.
As a hormone expert, I especially like the effect of curcumin on estrogen. So in your body, you make good and bad estrogens, and what we know is that curcumin can have an anti-proliferative effect on bad estrogens, including cancer cells.
As great as it sounds, curcumin does carry one significant drawback. It's difficult for our bodies to absorb.
The degree to which a substance is absorbed is called bioavailability.
Sometimes you can take very expensive supplements and then you're peeing out most of what you're taking. So you want to make sure that you're absorbing what you're taking.
Dr. Gottfried says 2 substances, fat and black pepper, help curcumin absorb into our bodies. That's why she recommends consuming things like this turmeric latte that contains coconut oil and almond milk, or this turmeric soup that contains coconut oil and black pepper, as well as healthy fresh ginger. When it comes to supplements, she recommends ones that also contain fat or black pepper, or ones that have been specially formulated for bioavailability. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, remembering a dark time in American history with hope of healing and unity.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
It's been 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were brought to the English colony of Virginia. Across the country, communities pause to reflect on the history of slavery in America and to seek healing for its wounds. Charlene Aaron has the story.
August marked 400 years since the first enslaved Africans reached American shores at Point Comfort, known today as Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. Many are learning about that history while commemorating its painful past.
From the Washington Cathedral to Atlanta, Georgia, bells rang out across the country, marking the 400th anniversary of the first Africans who arrived as slaves on the shores of Virginia.
They were enslaved while they were on the White Lion. When they disembarked, there was no status for them at that point in time. So they were traded for food stuff, and two of them, they were secured in terms of property by William Tucker, who was the commander.
Historian Bill Wiggins says those two enslaved people, Anthony and Isabella, were Catholics from Angola, who later became husband and wife, although not legally.
In 1623, they bore the first African documented child in English-occupied North America. That child, William Tucker, named after Captain Tucker, in honor of him, was baptized in the Second Kecoughtan Anglican Church.
This Hampton Cemetery is where some say members of that first family are buried. Wanda Tucker believes William Tucker was her ancestor.
400 years later, we're telling these stories, and we need to be acknowledged for our contributions for the building of America.
Thousands recently gathered here to reflect on the country's dark past. Terry Brown serves as the superintendent for the Fort Monroe National Monument. He says all Americans of all races should consider the importance of this anniversary.
To be in a place where the first Africans landed, I can't explain to you the emotion that brings up. I mean, I've struggled with this at times because they landed in the same spot I work in.
Hundreds of years after those first slaves arrived here, this same peninsula became a refuge for enslaved people during the Civil War.
The first 3 men that escaped to freedom came here to Fort Monroe at the outbreak of the Civil War. 10,000 enslaved people followed them to what they called Freedom's Fortress.
Meanwhile, many hope that freedom continues to pave the way for greater healing for our nation's future.
If a nation can hear our plight and our journey and our accomplishments, maybe on some level, in some small way, we begin to humanize each other and we begin to heal this nation.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, Justin Bieber's pastor says he has a gift for leading worship, and that's exactly what he did recently. The story after this.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with activities and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
We want to leave you with some impromptu worship music from Justin Bieber. But first, a reminder that you can catch CBN News anytime at our website, cbnnews.com, or watch the CBN News Channel. Bieber posted about a recent worship time at Church Home in Beverly Hills where he helped lead worship. He wrote, "God is pulling me through a hard season. It says in the Bible, count it all joy when you face trials of various kinds." He went on to say, "Sounds insane considering when you face trials, you feel terrible. But if we are grateful and worship God for what we do have in that season, there is so much power in that." And he ended the post, seen by almost 7 million followers, with a final word of encouragement. Quote, "Whatever pain you are going through, just keep telling yourself this won't last. Love you guys. We're in this together," or "we in this together." His pastor, Judah Smith, who's known Bieber since he was 8 years old, says he's had a gift for worship since childhood. Take a listen and have a worship-filled Tuesday.
Now I see that you were there for me, and I can say I'm stronger, I am wiser, I'm better, much better. When I look back over all you brought me through, I can see where you were the one I held on to. To worship you I live, to